Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Tim Matthews, with my co-host, Mr. Arthur Magulianiti.
Hello. How are we doing, Tom?
I'm doing well, brother. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. It's been a great day.
Yeah, you've been leading a lot of coaching calls today.
I've had a fair few, yeah, and stepping in for one or two coaches that are out and about, doing their thing out in the world.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know who Mr. Magulianiti is, I would definitely encourage you to check out some of his previous podcasts because he's shared a lot of wisdom in the past. So Arthur is one of the head coaches at TPM and partners with us as well on some of our coaching programs, in particular the Inner Circle, which is a very high-level mastermind limited to 10 men, 10 business owners, where people invest upwards of $85K to be a part of it. So needless to say, Arthur is an amazing coach, family man, has an amazing story, which he has covered on other podcasts. So if you want to get to know him a little bit better, you either head over to the website, check out his bio, or search those podcasts. So the thing that we want to talk about today, brother, and you came up with this topic after being on the Inner Circle call with the men, because it came up there. I think you said it came up as well in another coaching call today.
Yeah, that's correct. And it's the whole subject of receiving, of putting ourselves in a position where we actually sit back and actually receive something instead of always being the ones that actually give and do and provide. And it's, for some guys, it's a very uncommon territory and one that they tend to avoid quite a bit. And so I think that would make a great discussion topic for today.
Yeah, I love it. Let's do it. So do you want to give those listeners a little bit of context as to how it came up in the coaching calls today?
Yeah, well, one guy was talking about how he usually, when he invites people over and he invites people to go out, and he does it fairly often because he's a generous guy, and he invited these people over, and what they did was they actually snuck away to the waitress or waiter, and told him that they were going to pay that day, for that meal that evening. And it kind of caught him off guard, just like, what? And they paid. And yes, that was one, where the people, he actually made the people, by the way that he shows up usually, to go behind his back to make sure that they pay, because he doesn't really allow that to happen. And it's interesting because there's a whole thing in the Greek culture of doing exactly that, and we can get onto that. The other guy was talking about how because there's Father's Day coming up in various parts of the world this Sunday, and how he was really just getting in the space of allowing things to come to him as well as to receive. And his focus this week was to actually put himself in a position of receiving around Father's Day and just being there open to whatever comes his way. And it came on the back of a bit of him saying he was actually like loving himself more than he ever has. Wow. And hence being able to open up to receive more, which is a great connection, because that's where it comes from in part. So yeah, just both those were today, which is quite odd. And a few guys have been talking about that in the last couple of weeks as well. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you raised a great point. First story there, is that Big Sexy? Who was sharing that?
It was indeed, yeah. It was indeed, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I think let's just let's define what it means to receive for the listeners so they can really understand it. So in your opinion, I mean, there is no definition, right, to receive, but in your opinion, what does it mean to receive?
I would say receiving is being open to others doing things for you. Yeah. Whether that is to give you a compliment, all right, and you let it land instead of deflecting it. Whether you allow other people to treat you, with no strings attached, and do acts of kindness for you. Yeah. Those are the kind of things that we're talking about. Yeah. there was something else that just shot into my head, but I think it just shot out as quickly as it came in. But it's really letting people, allowing people to bestow kindness on you, I guess, is a short definition of that.
Yeah, it is huge. I mean, look, and if you a business owner, a guy, someone that's listening to this show, and you brush off compliments, or someone gives you a compliment and you play it down, or you just find yourself, it just feels odd and it just doesn't sit right with you. These are all signs that you are just pushing away the compliment and you're not receiving it, right? Big Sexy going for dinner. That person paid for dinner. And he said when he got home, he reflected upon it and he really struggled to receive their kindness. He felt guilty, in fact, like he should have paid for dinner. So these are all ways you can really begin to just, as you're listening, start to ask yourself the question, okay, how comfortable am I with receiving? How often do I allow myself to receive? And you'll probably find that it's pretty rare. So a lot of guys struggle with it, a lot of business owners especially. So in your opinion then, Arthur, what are some of the consequences of guys struggling to receive? How does this impact them?
Well, there's impact on themselves and there's an impact on others. Yeah. The impact on themselves is if we think of energy coming in and going out, if we are only willing to give out, right, we are stopping that cycle of energy of giving and receiving. It is a continuum. And so we restrict that energy. If you think about it, we can't just keep giving out without bringing in. We can't keep driving the car without actually filling it up. If we're only giving, that's only part of the equation, a healthy, energetic exchange with us and the universe and the people around us. So I think for one is we need that in order to allow for that energetic cycle to continue to complete and again and again and again to let the energy flow. For other people, we actually rob them of the opportunity for them to give to us, to others. And as much as most of us love giving, right? We don't often put ourselves in other people's position thinking, well, they also love giving. And so we rob them of that opportunity by us being pretty selfish about it. Yeah. Oh no, I got to be the one to give, Those are at least a couple of reasons why it's really important to do that. And
it creates connection, right?
It does create connection and it creates a sense of equality as well. You're letting other people step up as well. I think sometimes people get caught up in a bit of a level of superiority. Oh no, I'm the one to provide. I'm the one to give. And whether it's ego, whether it's a potentially confused state of like, well, I'm the provider, I'm the man, I got to do this. As I was talking about the Greek culture, it's like the guy that pays is the man, and so there are fights about who pays. Literally at the restaurant, you'll see people fighting. No, I'm paying. No, I'm paying. No, I'm paying. And then you have people sneaking off. It's crazy, but that's what it is. And so I think ego gets involved a little bit. I think it's a case of, we want to control the situation. And people sometimes think, well, if I let other people give, then I lose the initiative here. I lose control. It could also be a whole thing of intimacy, right? It kind of forces you to open up, right? And people aren't comfortable with that, and some people aren't comfortable with that. Because it gets intimate, yeah. If you think about actually receiving a compliment and letting it land, that's quite an intimate thing, yeah.
That's a big thing, letting it land, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of guys struggle with it as well, right? Because the subconscious narrative there is that they're not worthy of it. They're not worthy of receiving the compliment. We spoke about on a podcast 6, 7, 8, a few podcasts ago, Doug and I spoke about self-deprecation. And how if you're doing self-deprecation, but you don't believe it, then it can be a bit of humor, a bit of jest. The trouble with a lot of people that do is actually believe it, right? They believe those things are saying about themselves, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, the same is true here with receiving. Oftentimes, the guys struggle to receive a compliment, whatever it may be. Hey, you're looking good. Oh, thanks for doing that. You're so kind. Whatever it may, they don't see themselves as in that way. Yeah. Right? They don't see themselves as looking good or being in shape. They don't see themselves as being a kind, loving man, or they don't see themselves in whatever way they're being described, typically. As a result, that they brush it off. So they don't feel worthy of receiving. And to your point, energy in, energy out, it becomes a very tiring and exhausting journey, right? When you're constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and never allowing yourself, because that's all it is. One, you need to be aware of this concept. Two, once you're aware of it and you understand whether it's working for you or against you, the key shift there, in my opinion, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, is it's a choice to allow yourself, you give yourself permission to start receiving. And it's going to feel weird at first. That compliment that you receive when you say yes or thank you and you sit with it for a split second, you're going to smile with it. And it's going to feel strange. And it's going to feel like, am I being arrogant? Is that okay? Can I do that? And it's also a muscle, though. As you begin to do that, the muscle gets stronger and you feel better. Your self-image improves. Weirdly enough, you have less to prove to others. So you tend to stop trying to be the first one to pay for the bill, right? Because you begin to be more comfortable with who you are, less to prove, less to hide, as this receiving starts to kick in.
Yeah. It's definitely an inside job once again, as most of the stuff is. And I think it actually starts with you giving to yourself as well. That's where it begins. Because, yeah, as you say, it is a case of many guys feel unworthy. And we often find this, and the guys work really hard to create amazing results, but they never really enjoy them because they don't allow themselves to enjoy it. Because that would be what? That would be like letting themselves off the hook kind of thing, and like, no, I don't deserve this, so it's unworthiness. I don't deserve this. I got to work harder, like boom, 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 like getting smacked over the head continuously. At what point do you actually say stop and say, actually, I've created a lot here. I've done a lot. I'm a good guy. I get to enjoy what I've created and what I've produced here. And that means actually receiving, and so receiving starts with you. I mean, the irony is I've got like a reminder here that comes up, every now and then that says like, how can I receive more in this moment? Yeah. Because this is some of the work that I've been doing. Yeah. And it's amazing. Sometimes like I'm in the moment, I'm thinking like, there's nothing I can do right now, and that's fair enough. And sometimes, actually, I'm going to stop feeling guilty about what I'm doing right now. Yeah. And just enjoy doing that. Because I think a lot of guys feel guilty, number one, about what they perceive as, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be working, I should be doing this, I should be providing. I did crap with my partner today, no, I don't deserve any goodness. And that's not true. And unless we actually go out there and actually answer the question, how can I receive more for myself? We'll never accept more from other people. And that energy just breaks down.
Yeah. And the thing is as well, when we look at ourselves through that lens of essentially not enough, I don't deserve this, I need to work harder, basically not receiving things, you look at other people through the same lens as well, right? It's very difficult to praise your wife if you're looking at yourself through a critical lens. It's going to be far more likely if you're looking at yourself through a critical lens, which means you're not going to receive, you're going to also look at your wife through a critical lens. You're going to look at your kids through a critical lens. You're going to look at your staff through a critical lens. Right. And it's going to create distance between you guys as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you're doing to yourself, you're doing to everybody else. Yeah. You're judging yourself that harshly. You're judging everybody else that harshly. It begins with yourself, and it's imperative. I think it's a key skill, to be honest, that we develop being able to receive. Right. It's not a nice to do or I should do. I think you have to do it. You have to do the work to be comfortable with saying, thanks for the compliment. I feel it, thanks for dinner, I appreciate it, and be good with it, not just words, be good with it here. Because if it's, it'll start in the head. I've got to do this. Tim said this, Arthur said this, but to actually land here, and really be appreciative of it, that's when it really starts hitting home.
Yeah. And, when you actually choose to begin mastering the art of receiving, that's why, there's a reason why we use the word art to receiving, right? Because it's an art, really. It's going to ebb and flow and change and look different and feel different. And it's not a mechanical, logical thing. Yes, become aware of it. And that's going to take some conscious awareness, if you will. But it's really about being. It's about doing less and being more and allowing those things to land. I think that's the key word, right? Because you can't convince yourself. You'll know if you're receiving something because you will feel better on the side of it. You might feel happier. You might feel more energized. You might have more clarity. There'll be a whole host of things you'll feel, right, as a result of receiving. If you try and convince yourself you're receiving by telling yourself you are, but it doesn't land for you, you're not going to feel any different. I know there's a lot of guys in the movement that we've spoken to about this. And as a result, their self-image improves, right? How they see themselves as they begin to really say yes and thank you and more and whatever it might be to the universe, let's say, because they're receiving things. It's one way to receive. It could be a project. It could be a great employee on your team. It could be a loving partner. Whatever it may be, right? It just seems to have crossed your path. A lot of the guys will speak into existence and say, yes, thank you, more. It could be a compliment. Thank you. It could be, to your point, accepting dinner. But as they do this, as they break down the walls that they've put up between them and making life hard, they begin to see themselves differently, begin to feel differently about themselves and about life as well. Typically, their mood goes up. They get happier. They get more playful. They become more relaxed. That little bit of playfulness and cockiness tends to come back for them. Life tends to have a little bit more color to it. They begin to say yes to themselves for bigger things as well. It's a muscle that tends to grow. That project or that business or whatever it may be they've been resisting, they start to give themselves permission to dream and go after it.
I love that, what you said there, saying yes to themselves, right? Saying yes to themselves, because as so many guys are just saying no continuously to themselves, right? No, I can't do that until this, until this, until this, until this, until this. But most of the guys that are in the movement have done such great work to get to where they are, and at one point do you actually, do they actually decide, actually, I can reward myself. I deserve more. I can enjoy more of what I'm creating. And so, yeah, saying yes to yourself, it's opening doors for you. But also, as you shift, as you change, everybody around you is going to start shifting and changing. And suddenly you lift everyone around you as well, Yeah, I guess the key question is like, how can I say yes to myself more often? And how can I get to receive more in this moment? I think both those two questions are something that you guys get to put on your phones as reminders twice a day or something like that, just to be reminded in the moment. And maybe in that moment, there's nothing more than to just say, thank you, thank you for everything that's in your life. Or maybe in that moment, it's just like, hey, yeah, we're going to take go for the walk or stay out longer or do something else that's just going to bring some joy, some level of joy, some level of love, some level of appreciation to your life, more so than before.
Yeah, what comes to mind for me when you said that as well is that the levels of consciousness, right? Different emotions carry with them different levels of energy, if you will. Heavier emotions that we feel like guilt, anger, frustration, apathy, and such, they tend to vibrate at a lower frequency, hence them being heavier. The way is down. On the flip side, on the top end of the spectrum, you've got love, joy, peace, and they vibrate at a much higher frequency and a much lighter and uplifting. And that came to mind as you were saying about what enters into your life as you start to receive more, because you definitely begin to experience more joy, more gratitude, more happiness. And I can remember when I first heard this, it was such a strange concept. What do you mean receive? Like, what do you mean intentionally receive? And I just gave it a shot. I just gave it a try, and it had a profound impact on my life. So let's leave the listeners with 3 practical things they can do right now to begin mastering the art of receiving.
Okay, so one is like I just said, I think a reminder to actually be in that conversation. So whether it's a reminder on their phone, it's a post-it on their computer screen, it's like, how can I receive more? How can I be open to receiving more? Just as a memory jog. And for me, it works great on the phone. That's number one. I think number 2 is next time someone gives you a compliment, don't deflect it. Right? Don't deflect it. Don't joke about it. We hide so much with humor because we don't want to open and go into that intimate space. Rather, just take a deep breath, say thank you, and just feel the good intention that compliment was meant for, and let it land on your heart. I think those are 2 good ones. A third.
Can I give a third?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, this was something that I haven't done for a while, actually, but I used to do pretty often. It's the idea of mindful eating, right? So it's the idea of when you're with a meal, just being with the meal. Now, you don't have to do this every meal, right? Maybe pick one meal in the day or practice it a few times a week, whatever. The point of it is that you're going to be present with the meal and you can actually receive the smell, the taste, the flavors, and just almost like sitting in gratitude for the meal as well. But instead, taking it a step further, actually receiving the taste and really being there with it. And whatever sound you may make, be it whatever you may say, thank you, whatever it is, right? Just practicing the mindful eating is a great way for you to be active receiving.
Love that one. Love that one. I tend to wolf my food down too quickly at times, and I get to be a lot more mindful of that.
Yeah, me too. Even just considering, right, how the food made it to your plate, like the effort going all the way back to the farmer, or even the energy from the sun to grow the crop or whatever it is you're eating, whatever, right? So much effort has gone in to that meal been on your plate, even the effort you've put in to have the money to be able to have it there, even maybe the chair that you're sitting on, the table that you sat at, the house that you're living, the electricity that's lighting. There's so many things to be grateful for in that moment and to receive and give thanks for, that your mood is going to be drastically different after that 10 minutes of eating if you do that than if you just sit there with the TV on or scrolling your phone or whatever it may be. Creativity levels go up, productivity goes up. This is often how guys end up making way more money with far less effort because their ideas are obviously much better and they have the energy, to your point, energy out, energy in, to actually follow through on them.
Yeah, I love that. And then giving yourself a bit of time as well to enjoy it, because I think that's the other thing around rushing food. It's like, I've got to eat quickly because I've got to get back to it. No, you get to receive. You get to receive. And so
I'm worth it. I'm worth this moment. I'm worth this time.
Precisely, yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate your insights as always. And that's a wrap for this episode on the Powerful Man Show.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.